should look for symptoms such as prolonged fever and severe abdominal pain. Eric.
That really is important to do that, especially if you have young ones. Well, a new study yet to be reviewed by some experts finds that nearly everyone who does recover from coronavirus, well, they develop antibodies that potentially could prevent reinfection. Although it is not clear exactly how long the immunity lasts or if the disease can really affect them again. What does this mean then for all of us to protect against this dreaded virus? Dr. Holly Anderson joins us. She's a cardiologist and director of education and research and outreach at the Ronald O. Perelman Heart Institute, part of the New York Presbyterian Hospital Weill Cornell Medical Center in New York. So, Dr. Anderson, I mean, you'd like to think that if you're infected, you can ward it off again. But where does this stand now on what we know?
Yes, this is very important. This is really the most important question, and that is, we found out now that most people who do get infected do make antibodies, and that's very good news. But the timing is very important when to get tested. Many people don't develop significant antibodies till 3 weeks or 4 weeks after they get infected. So the timing is important when you get tested. Some people make them right away. And an antibody is a protein that helps defend against the virus. And very recently, in to-be published data, is that we think that levels of antibodies do correlate with neutralizing the virus, and that's fantastic news. So a lot of the virus experts are now beginning to think that these antibodies do convey immunity. We don't know how long somebody will be immune for, and some people might even say that you might be immune even after antibody levels fall off, because coronaviruses typically make T cells, which is another part of the immunity, generate some protection. So we're hopeful that these antibodies do convey immunity.
Yeah, it's certainly hopeful. I mean, how does it usually work with the virus? Is it always guaranteed? Are you always guaranteed to have immunity if you get an antibody? I mean, this thing seems so wild and has really challenged the orthodox of the medical community.
It really has, and as you just heard about the Kawasaki's like syndrome in children, where it's creating new challenges that we're seeing and learning real time. We are only really testing antibodies from people who recovered, right? So we think that people who recover from the virus do mount antibodies, and we think that even in people that are mildly symptomatic, some of them can mount good antibodies, and we see good antibodies in men and women, and it doesn't depend on the age. And what's also really important that the FDA just gave us permission Tuesday to use these convalescent antibodies, or antibodies from people who have recovered, and give them to critically ill patients to see if we can help them. There's some information from the past epidemics of SARS and MERS that this is going to be an effective therapy. There's some promising information from a few patients in China who supposedly got this therapy, and it was at least safe, and it appeared to help. But we're going to be going ahead now and trying to use these convalescent antibodies in moderately sick hospitalized patients to see if we can help them recover.
What's your sense on that? I mean, you're a cardiologist. Is your specialty? You've seen how it can hit the cardiovascular system, how it can cause blood clots. I mean, have you ever really seen anything like this?
No.
Until now?
No, I have never seen anything like this. I did come into medicine in the middle of the AIDS epidemic, so I remember being on the front lines and practicing medicine while we were learning things every month and seeing new things every week. And so that does make me hopeful that we are going to figure out this disease and take care of it. But this therapy that's going to be used right now, this convalescent antibodies, I hope it works. We have these critically ill patients that we have very few things to give them. Remdesivir is one, but it's not a magic bullet. And this is going to be used in emergency and compassionately, experimentally. We're not going to be doing controlled trials with this antibody treatment, because we're just trying to give these critically ill patients something, and we're very hopeful.
Yeah, and also finally, at another point, you've hammered away at this. If people think they're ill, if you think you're having a heart attack at home, you don't be afraid of going to the hospital getting help.
Yes, especially we're in New York City, and we still have a lot of critically ill patients in our ICUs, but the rest of our hospital is now trying to return slowly to elective cases or case by case. If you think you're ill, if you think you're having a heart attack, we have people in the emergency room to take care of you safely. And all of our, we are all here ready to help you with telemedicine and even start seeing patients on a selective basis on the as an outpatient now.
That's the great news, and that's something good to keep in mind, that it is slowly opening up. Other things are happening. Dr. Holly Anderson of New York Weill Cornell Medical Center. Always good to see you, Doctor. Thank you for joining us.
It's great to see you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Dr. Anderson. Absolutely. So while is most right now, the rural areas, rural counties, the areas hardest hit, and what they're being done and where this is happening, it's happening in places where hospitals may be dozens